So did the FDA just ban BPC-157 and other peptides? I mean, what the hell is going on? Yes, there was some guidance from the FDA on some of the peptides that we all use, know, and love and are extremely effective. And it really proposes to put a limitation on pharmacies and them compounding some of these compounds, meaning making specific preparations in different doses, maybe in combination with other things, to prescribe to people. There's an entire list of stuff that, may be off limits or may be a lot harder for pharmacies to prescribe to people that I'm going to break down in this video. And I just kind of want to clear up what the FDA has done, why I think they've done it, and what folks can hope to expect from the future. In the meantime, what supports this broadcast are our epic nootropic products and other products. Supercharged Dopamine, Speed Course, Nootropics Mastery just launched. Those are video courses. Cortex Nootropic Stack, Focus and Flow in a Bottle. And of course, the mighty Torque Nootropic Stack, Stimulation, Energy, Motivation all day. Links for product are in the description of this video. So yes, the FDA did put some restrictions on some peptides, specifically from compounding pharmacies. And one of them does include BPC-157. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't get BPC-157. BPC-157 is a peptide. It's completely legal to have. It's completely legal for certain pharmacies to have. But what I want to do is take you to a LinkedIn article by Jessica Elena, who says, the FDA banning compounding pharmacies from prescribing peptides, what this really means, where she basically explains exactly what's happening. Essentially, the major takeaway as of the 6th of October, which is just last month, the FDA put some peptides off limits for compounding pharmacies to prescribe. Now, people can correct me if I'm wrong here, but what this really means is that they can't prescribe those peptides in combination with other things or in specific doses. It doesn't mean that, however, that BPC-157, as an example, you couldn't just purchase from a peptide site because they're not prescribing it to you. It's just a peptide on a peptide site that you can buy. But what it does mean is some of these compounding pharmacies that essentially prescribe this stuff to people, the FDA isn't stopping them from doing that, but the FDA is now saying if you prescribe BPC-157 and some other things, which I'm going to read off, then we can take action against you, which ultimately is going to make it a lot harder for, your favorite pharmacy to prescribe you your BPC-157 or your otherwise peptide. Again, doesn't mean you can't get it somewhere else. It just means it's going to be harder for the pharmacies to prescribe because the FDA can take action against them. Okay, so notably, the FDA banned GHK-Cu, BPC-157, CJC-1295, which I think is going to piss a lot of people off, Epitalon, KPV, C-Lank, C-Max. So that's going to piss a lot of nootropics people off. Thymosin alpha-1, AOD9604, I don't even know what that is. L37, not sure what that is. Dihexa, that's a neurogenesis agent. They banned delta sleep-inducing peptide, Kisspeptin, which that makes you make more testosterone from the hypothalamus pituitary level. I have no idea why the fuck that's banned. MOTSC and thymosin beta-4. Now, this says that they banned L-theanine, which is not true. L-theanine is an incredible amino acid for inducing alpha brain waves and kind of turning on relaxation. Stacks really well with some stimulant nootropics. But, again, what they're doing, I think, is they've moved it to a particular category where it might actually be eligible for FDA inclusion into kind of the pharmaceutical drug list. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm understanding from this. You can still buy L-theanine. It's an amino acid. It's very effective. Now, again, so all the peptides that I just listed that end up in categories 2 and 3, the FDA doesn't say that compounded pharmacies, can't compound them and prescribe them. What the FDA is saying is they have the power to take regulatory action against those pharmacies using compounding and prescribing those substances. So this does actually mean, because a lot of the pharmacies are going to, follow suit, like Empower as an example, or name your favorite compounding pharmacy. They're probably at some point not going to have BPC-157 and some of these other peptides available for you to have, whereas in the past they always have. Now, why would the FDA in all its infinite wisdom do something like this? Well, here's their contention. Their contention is there are safety data that are lacking with these peptides that make them unsafe, at least from their perspective, for humans to use at this time. And they actually have a breakdown of individual peptides and what they think, may happen. Like for BPC-157, they go, compounded drugs containing BPC-157 may pose risk for immunogenicity for certain routes of administration and may have complexities with regard to peptide-related impurities and API characterization. FDA has identified no or or only limited safety-related information for proposed routes of administration. Thus, we lack sufficient information to know whether the drug would cause harm when administered to humans. Well, you might want to talk to the bodybuilding community or the biohacking community or the nootropics community or the community of people all around America and all around the world who've been safely using BPC-157, including myself, for fucking many years to determine whether or not there's safety. And if you're really concerned about safety, run fucking trials. But of course they won't, because it doesn't fit into the pharmaceutical drug list. A lot of them you'll see they on the FDA website actually have the same weird fucking super vague explanation, like Kisspeptin. And Kisspeptin's like a GnRH agonist or something, basically makes you make a little more LH-FSH from the pituitary, signals down to the testicles to make testosterone. It's a very cool peptide. They go, compounded drugs containing Kisspeptin 10 may pose risk for immunogenicity. For certain routes of administration, it may have complexities with regard to peptide. The same shit. Literally fucking copied and pasted. So why are they doing this with peptides? We'll go back to Jessica Elena's post on LinkedIn about this. They go, the role of the pharmaceutical lobbyist. She goes, come on, we all know how the pharmaceutical industry works. You wouldn't be on this website searching for peptides if you didn't. It's safe to say that this change in the FDA's rule on peptides aligns closely with the pharmaceutical industry's interests, which leads to speculation about their influence. She makes the point, and this is just a point that she's making. We can't say that it's true or not true. She goes, if peptides help people so much, which they do, then the same people won't need to rely on the pharmaceutical industry's drugs. So what do? Ban peptides. And essentially what she's trying to say, this is not what I'm saying, but she's trying to say is that the pharmaceutical industry recognizes that peptides are interfering with drug sales. So there's, lobbyist influence on, the peptide industry and, peptide origination points, at least compounding pharmacies that, are selling peptides and, it's getting in the way of their fucking business. That is what this website on, that is what this article on LinkedIn is contending. What is my take on it? It's difficult to say. All I can say is when we look at their explanations of these things, they're extremely vague. Okay, so there's a potential for immunogenicity, but you've copy pasted that same explanation for hosts of other peptides. Their whole idea is kind of bogus. Like we've got to ban the compounding pharmacies from selling these or prescribing these because we don't have enough safety data on them. I mean, let's just be fucking honest. This is the same FDA without critical 8-year safety data put out the fucking what and made everybody get it. I can't even. What's important to recognize though, as Jessica points out here on this article, is currently the FDA has not declared it illegal for pharmacies to obtain peptide substances, and peptides are not illegal. All the FDA really did is make it hard for doctors to prescribe peptides from compounding pharmacies officially. That's really all they did. It doesn't mean that there's some sort of limitation on, a peptide website that sells peptides, because they're not prescribing them in a context of here, this will help you with some medical situation. It's just, we all know what BPC-157 does, highly effective for, fixing injuries. I mean, the stuff has done wonders on digestive issues. I've seen oral administration do pretty awesome stuff for people's like Crohn's and otherwise like bad digestive conditions. And that's essentially the gist of it. But you know what this really does, what it ultimately ends up doing, which if the FDA was so interested in people's safety, they would recognize this as a terrible idea. It's merely going to make people go and buy peptides from black market sources. I mean, that's fucking it. Like you think that this is going to make people who recognize the necessity for, or at least the usefulness of BPC-157 when they have an injury or a gut problem or localized inflammation or whatever, make them go, oh, the FDA says, it might be immunogenicity and it might be unsafe because we don't have enough data on it. Must mean I shouldn't take it. No, people are going to go to black market websites or otherwise websites that have peptides and they're going to fucking buy them. And in the end, if it's not a reputable, because I think a lot of these fly by the night or at least quick acting, just like companies are going to pop up, now with peptides, like seeing this as an opportunity. And who knows, if they're not reputable companies, we don't know the safety, like we don't know the degree of meticulousness that goes into like purity and how, they package things and whether or not it's contaminated and things of this nature. So you're going to have people that are pursuing some of these new companies that may pop up or otherwise non-reputable companies for peptides because they can't get them from their doctor. They can't get them from their compounded pharmacy, coming soon. And that poses way more of a risk then, you know, the estimated 80,000 people who've got anecdotals of BPC-157 or CJC, whatever, like helping them on the web, that are walking around without immunogenic effects, without any kind of weird things happening to their immune system, and are largely fine and have injuries healed as a result of taking some of this stuff, or are stronger, sleep better, whatever the peptide is. You know, peptides are amino acids linked together with a peptide bond. That's all. Like, you know, insulin, your own inborn insulin, that's a peptide. BPC-157, you make small amounts of it. You're supposed to make small amounts of it. The degree to which you stop making adequate amounts of it, obviously, you know, is different between different people, but I argue it probably gets diminished over time. It's a fucking peptide you make in your gut. They want to ban that from compounding pharmacies. GHKCU is a peptide that in response to injuries, you release from your blood. So, you know, again, very, very murky. It's a strange move. You know, anyone with any degree of intelligence looking at the situation may propose that it does have something to do with these peptides interfering with pharmaceutical drug sales, you know, and it's just one of those stupid things that the FDA is now doing. Now, there's probably going to be more of this, but there may be a petition that ends up like on the FDA's website, like there was with them essentially trying to limit the way or change the way that testosterone is prescribed to people. This is on change.org. It needs 1,000 signatures or something. It's got 561, and it is called Reverse the FDA's Decision to Ban Compounded Peptides in the United States. If you want to sign this petition because you're interested in this, it's very, very easy. You'll just put your first name, last name, email, and then you sign the petition. I'll put the link in the description of this video. Again, I want to just reiterate that all this really means is that, you know, from your doc and from your favorite compounding pharmacy, in the near future, they're probably not going to be able to prescribe you BPC-157 and some of these other peptides, but they're still going to be available on peptide sites and they're not illegal. All right, as I said at the beginning, look, we just launched a host of new products, Supercharged Dopamine, a video course teaching you the holy grail of dopamine hacking, Nootropics Mastery. We'll get you to master the use of high-level nootropics for brain performance. I built, you know, two of the best all-day stimulants. One is a focus and flow nootropic called Cortex. The other is a stimulant motivation all-day energy nootropic called Torque. I mean, these are Adderall alternatives effectively that are much better, come with far less side effects, are far cheaper, and are epic. The links for Torque and Cortex and all of our products are down in the description of this video. Lastly, I am a coach or consultant on nootropics, TRT protocol optimization, energy optimization, dopamine restoration, sexual dysfunction, sexual optimization, a host of other things. You can hire me in under a minute at livecortex.com or down in the description of this video. But guys, back to making content. I traveled over the weekend, so now I'm back home. Much more content coming this week. I'll talk to you in the next one.